We gather neath the steeple as part of your herd, to sing of your praises, to hear of your word. But it ain't just 1 hour when we hear our Savior speak, 'cause the echoes of Sunday are heard all throughout the week. The echoes of Sunday ringing out through all my life. The echoes of Sunday give me comfort when in strife. Oh, to hear of your mercy and to know of your grace. The echoes of Sunday help me see my Savior's face.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Echoes of Sunday podcast. We are switching it up today. My name is
feels
Logan,
weird.
and joined with my co-host Cody. And Cody, who are you with today?
We are with our awesome personal finance professor, Professor JoElyn Krohn.
Woo!
Thank you so much for joining us, Professor.
We are very excited to have you on.
Yes, this will be a fun one. We've looked forward to this. We've had it on the calendar for a couple of weeks, so now that it's here, it's just enjoy the moment, you know?
The meeting that we had to set up this meeting, this interview, was very encouraging. I was just like, I'm excited now to have the actual. Oh, did you
Whoops,
just?
I just dropped a heart. It's okay.
She's breaking stuff already.
It's okay. The kid's already broken arm off, if you noticed. That's why he was sidled up to the elephant.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's so cute, actually. I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
But yes, I was very excited, and we walked in, she gave us sweet tea, and now we're here.
Yep.
We're vibing.
Definitely a different type of podcast. Usually we don't do it in offices, I guess. So I guess we've done it once in an office before. We did the Professor Schaefer one in an office. But yeah, this is pretty fun.
There's a lot of stimulus, so if we get stuck on any, topic, we'll just get inspiration somewhere on the walls.
Have you ever been on a podcast before?
I have not. My husband is he follows quite a few different podcasts, and so I've watched the ones that he recommends, but no, this is a first.
Very exciting.
It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, we're, I think, almost 20 episodes in now to the Echoes of Sunday podcast, which is crazy. Amazing. And yet, 20 episodes in, it's still a little, I don't know, different every time. You just never quite get used to it, I feel like. You never know what to expect.
Until you hit that button, you don't know.
Yeah. I didn't know I was going to drop a heart within the first 30 seconds of recording, but here we are.
I don't know. I've never had Professor Krohn, and so I only know that she teaches personal finance. Do you teach anything else here?
No, I do not. That's a very short.
I'm sorry.
No, I don't know. It's funny because there's things that I'm like, oh, that would be fun, but I don't think I'm qualified.
Man.
This is my jam though, so it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see you just randomly spur of the moment teach a poetry class or something, and just try and do that. Yeah.
You should know that when you start as a faculty member, there's a little reception and we all gather and it's really fun. Kind of awkward
nice.
A little bit. Yeah. But I was like, all right, I've actually been working with these people for quite a few years already, so I can't just do a boring introduction. So I had to do, this is old school. I don't know if you guys even saw this show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yes.
Yeah, with Will Smith.
Yeah,
yes.
So I kind of redid my intro, and I even had the theme music playing
Did you sing
on the
song?
background. Yeah, well, and I rewrote the lyrics to
That's
my
awesome.
life. Yep. So I could,
Wow.
it'll be that would be the kind of poetry. And actually, you guys, you're pre-sem. You don't get a poem. The education students do, but I don't get to speak in front of your whole class of pre-sem guys.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, so, if you notice up there, it says girls just want to have funs. That was our theme last year in the bright pink. I rewrote the lyrics to that song on the top shelf in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I could do a little dabbling with lyricism.
Oh,
yeah.
So you're
pop culture lyricism.
an up and coming rapper. Is what you say.
Not.
I bet that immediately showed the rest of the faculty that this new math professor that we have is Not the
Not what we-
normal, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
In the best way possible.
Yeah,
of
I don't know. It was a bold move, I will say. And I did make sure that my husband recorded it so that I could, like, I've never rewatched it, but I think it is there. There is video evidence that happened.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah,
sometime?
maybe. You could maybe put that in the trailer credits. Like,
Yeah, put it in like the comment box down below.
But I
or
don't know if
something.
you went to. So then, following up that was the lip sync that we did for the talent show. That was
Yes.
my
Oh,
great
yes.
baby because my dream has always been to be in a flash mob. You see, like,
What?
I grew up watching musicals, right? You know,
Yeah.
and it's like they just randomly burst into song, and sometimes a whole community would have a choreographed whatever. And I was
Sure.
like, this, and it, like, it's a thing. Like, if you Google flash mob, there's some awesome ones. But I was like, the closest I'll ever get is our talent show at MLC. So we're gonna do it. So, like, that was
Good for you.
months
That
of
was sick.
planning, and
Wow.
it was like really fun. But yeah,
You guys killed it. I remember watching that live, and I remember looking over at you, like, you got really into it. And I was like, this had to be her idea. This had to be Professor Krohn's idea. Yeah.
I choreographed it. I made the slideshow. Like, I kind of nerded out for that entire month prep beforehand. The kids, like, they came with me to help, like, record the dance moves because all of us couldn't meet at the same time, all of the ladies.
Oh,
So I had to
wow.
record it, but from both angles, like looking frontwards, like the audience, but also backwards so you could see the steps.
Right.
Yeah.
So for a while, Gus was singing RESPECT at home quite a bit.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So you
I
didn't
know.
know how it would come together until you were there.
No, exactly. And thank goodness, like, so I had, was it no, oh my goodness, Borgward.
Justice Borgward.
Justice,
Yeah.
yes. He was in personal finance that semester, and I was like, could you save us a slot? I don't want to audition, but I need you to save us a slot for the late. And he was so great to, like, just work that in, and the way they introduced it. I didn't know what they were gonna do, but it made me so happy. It all came together.
That was awesome.
Have you done that since?
No,
Or anything like that?
there's gonna be a comeback at some point, and then it's gonna be like, and because I have, like, Boys to Men in my head and some other like so I'm gonna highlight the guys on campus, but, like, still have the female, like, dance thing. But
Okay.
it's in the works, but it couldn't happen this year, so we'll see. Maybe.
I would
next
love
year.
to see that next year before we both graduate. That would be awesome.
We'll
Sweet.
see. We'll see if I can make that happen. But
Yeah, I grew up watching the High School Musicals growing up.
Yes.
That was my taste with
Yes.
musicals. Yes.
Mhm.
So I remember even at Evergreen, my high school, I would sing, like, different songs with, like, my friends at lunch. We just started doing High School Musical songs in the caf. So that was the most hardcore we ever
Never
got
had that
into.
experience at my high school.
Uh,
No.
it sounds like you didn't go to
I
the
might
right high
put
school.
you in the chorus.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Can we please get a Logan Cook in the chorus?
Yes. Oh, we should get all the precinct guys. If it's about okay. We're gonna collaborate again, guys.
Anything we can do to make it happen, honestly.
That would be interesting. I bet we could put together a good group of guys to help out.
I have
with
never actually seen all of High School Musical, nor do I want to.
Yeah. It's okay.
However, for you,
Okay.
anything goes. Yeah.
Okay.
that. Oh man. Not that I don't love this conversation, but the first question we always ask all of our guests, kind of, because we are a Christian podcast, not just a musical podcast.
Stay on topic.
But yeah, we always like to ask kind of, what has your faith story been like? What's your faith story to you? What's your relationship with God looked like over the years? And maybe if you want to tie that into what eventually brought you to MLC here,
Sure.
we'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So my dad's a pastor, so I grew up in the church, went to parochial school my whole life. But I would say probably the most significant thing that happened to kind of stir on my faith was when we lived in Florida. So we're in the Bible Belt, right? So we
Yeah.
have a lot of Baptist friends, which like I miss and loved so much because they have a tangible way of like talking about their faith. And living it, and like Jesus truly is their best friend, and it's like I want to talk and live that way too. So it was like really impactful. But even more so, my siblings went to a Baptist high school. We had a Lutheran grade school that I went to, Bay Pines, woot woot, Seminole, Florida, and I had a great experience there. But they went to, it was a great school, but it was these strong Baptist ties. And for the first time, which you wouldn't think that it would take that as a pastor's family to really talk about faith things, but really that was the catalyst for so many good, deep conversations in our home, because my siblings would be coming back and talking about things that they were teaching there. And what better way to like, well, let's talk about that. And we I feel like grew so much as a family spiritually, but that also really impacted me. I loved the conversations we had, but it also made me like, ooh, I could go there for high school, but I really want to go and be with peers who have the same core faith as me. So my sister and I cooked up a plan that we needed to convince Mom and Dad that we should go to St. Croix Lutheran, because that was the first year that they had dormitories, because my other siblings were going off to college. And so it would have been all of us going to Minnesota. So it would be like a one-stop shop for my parents to come visit us.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And my mom worked for the airline, which kind of plays another part of like my history of like love with the airlines. But we can get into that later. But anyway, so like knowing that there was an option for me to go to a school with people who believed the same as me was really important. And so, like, while I grew during that time of kind of having different theology, I really wanted to be strong in the theology of our church. And so my dad said, as long as you guys are roommates, you both go out for a fall sport, and I had to take Latin.
Really?
That was his caveat in order for us to go. So.
That's an interesting caveat. I don't think most kids can say that their parents required them to take Latin.
Well, he before he was, in between being in a parish, he was a high school teacher, and he did teach Latin at the high school level. But he also knew that, like, if I had a good foundation of that, if I wanted to go medical, it would be a lot easier. If I wanted, it just helps you, I think it helps you understand the English language better, because you're breaking down parts. So that was kind of his thought process, and I loved it. I loved Latin so much.
Really?
So it was a good thing.
Do you ever keep up with it at all? Or?
No, well, when I when I worked at Cornell University, we could take classes there, and so I was like, we can take classes for free? I'm going to take a Latin at Cornell University. So I like to joke that I have like a 4.0 at Cornell. And
you took that one class.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, so my high school, living in a dorm, but being in a Christian environment, that, like, was really important. And then, like, the other really significant thing in my life was in 2012. I was working at St. Olaf College, loved my job there. I was the assistant director of financial aid. And I loved what I did, but I had always wanted to do mission work. And a buddy of mine was the youth pastor at Bloomington Lutheran, and he asked if I would help chaperone their youth group. And they were going down to Florida to help out a church, to do some canvassing and helping with their Easter program. I was like, sure. So I just took my week of vacation and went down as a chaperone. Well, two of the other chaperones met doing Friends of China. And so then I was like, oh, really? This is interesting. And I'd always been curious, and I've had friends who've done it in the past, but I was like, I don't know if I can see myself, like, living in Asia. And, like, not the most, like, I don't know. I have certain foods that I like and certain foods that I don't want to try. Like, I would call that's a polite way of saying, like, kind of picky.
Fair enough.
And so I was like, I don't know. But the more I talked to this couple, I was like, I feel like this is something that has been put on my heart for so long, and I've kind of just ignored it just because of like life circumstances. But here I am. I'm like in my mid-20s, single. What better thing to do with my life right now than just go serve for a year? Take a leave from my job. I knew I wanted to go to grad school, so I was like, this will be a good transition. I'll go do that for a year, and then I'll go to grad school, and then I'll pick up where I left off. And that time in China was life-changing, truly, because it was like you are surrounded with these wonderful people who, like, once they know what it means to have Jesus as their Savior, they're like, wow, this is like so cool, and it changes their lives, and we just take it for so granted here. You know, it's like there's some dangers of having a plushy middle class life, right? Like it makes it you know, you don't realize how important you need the Savior. You can't do anything on your own, and like heaven is not here. Heaven is in the future with Jesus. Amen. So you know, it's just. It just really inspired me to like really not take my faith for granted. Especially, and I had the opportunity to lead a women's study there, which I loved, because what we would do is we'd use like Christian music, and then kind of like see what's the scriptural background for this piece. But then I think music has just such a way of speaking to your heart, you know, and it, like, I just thought it was a really cool way of exposing them to religious music, but also then helping them like tie that to the Bible's readings that we were doing as well.
Were those like hymns or
no,
more contemporary
like
Christian
contemporary
songs? Okay.
songs.
Okay. Very cool. And do you dabble in music? Like, do you play music?
I I'll sing for our church. I love music, but I'm not like, it's not probably like one of my top 5 talents.
But you love listening to music.
I love, yep.
Okay, I'm the same way. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like very much like when we were in Florida, we were the youth group. It's like my dad was at an older church, and it was like us 4 kids. So like we would like take family vacations. Like, well, the youth group's going to, you know, wherever we went as a family. But we would sing for church all the time. So all of us sang. Yeah. I need a guitar tutor, so if anyone is willing to like help me through that, I can play like D, A, G, and C, and like a little E minor.
There you go.
Like I can sing camp songs so the kids think I'm great, you know, and that's all that matters. Sing them bedtime songs, and we sing around the campfire during the summer. So, but yeah.
I mean, if you know those 4 or 5 chords, you know you can sing. You can do a lot of stuff with that.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Okay, but I want to know more about what it looks like to like be a missionary with Friends of China. I think it was called back then. Now it's called Friends Network. Yeah, but I've heard that you have to like fund yourself and everything.
It was different when I went. It was different than it is now. Now they do a lot of like, you need like sponsorship essentially, so you do have to raise a lot of money. When I went, that was not the case, but I had a full-time teaching job. So I was working in a school in China, and I was an English teacher. So that is essentially like how we were able to fund missionaries, is that we had full-time jobs, and then we put money back into, so like we covered our own rent, our own utilities, we paid all of our own bills out of our income that we got, and then we were doing mission work on the side, which was great, but it was really difficult. One of my very best friends works at MBL, and she's a math teacher there. So she actually was in Wuhan, and she was at a university. So if you had a university job, kind of like the difference between a high school teacher and a college professor, right? You have a little bit more flexibility because you're not meeting Monday through Friday, every class period, right? So they had a lot more flexibility, but none of us who were in Shanghai had a university that we were working with. We were at grade schools. So it was a little challenging to have a full job. Like I was there all day, and then plan Bible studies and things in the evening and the weekends. So I think that the thought process is, okay, well, now if we're losing that income, we have to be able to find a way to sustain it.
Okay.
So that's part of the reason why they've had to kind of go that route, because I don't think most of their missionaries are doing another job to help fund them to be there, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it was a good opportunity for me also to see the educational style in China. So I'm thankful for that, but like that was hard. That was way harder than the teaching Bible studies. Like that was like, all right, I love this. Like we had some translators for parts that got like really tricky, but we already had a couple of girls who were already really interested, so that made, but like learning to, and I had big class sizes too. They were like, I think I had 40 kids and I had several sections of 40. I did the 3rd through 5th grade, and I was teaching, like I was their English teacher, and the Chinese teachers didn't really, there's a lot of contention between the two, because like the Chinese schools will kind of like pay the English teachers much higher than the actual local teachers. So it was a very uncomfortable situation, because I shared an office with the ladies. So it's like, I'm a nice person. I just want to be your friend. But like, I didn't know what they were talking about, but you could tell it was not always very complimentary about yourself, because they could say it right in front of you, because you would be like, I don't know what you're saying, but I'm sure it's not nice.
So they didn't make you learn the language or anything like that?
I mean, I had a tutor, like actually super cute. I had a 6th grade boy, Sam, and he invited me to his birthday. And their apartment was like not far from where our apartment was, and like we had bikes, so I biked everywhere or took the subway, so I could bike to their apartment. And I met his mom, and his mom, she is the most lovely person, and like I'd still call her a good friend of mine, even though we haven't talked in a while. But I mean, she's sent presents to my kids. Like we stayed in touch after leaving, but she became my tutor. But she was hard. I was like, Emily, I don't get this. One time she had me, like, she went with me to the train station, but she made me, like, get the tickets by myself. But I was like, it was very hard to do.
Wow.
It's like, but she would help if I needed the help, but she really encouraged me. And I was like, I know it was good for me. But I do remember one day, I'd learned the word for new, and it was like Shinda. And I apologize if my like intonation is wrong, because it's been a while since I've said it. But I was like, okay, I learned the word new, which is great, because on the way home, my chain on my bike broke, and I had to walk it. And like they had like little shop kind of mechanic places like on the street there, and it's like I don't know how to say any bike parts, but I know how to say new, so I'd say Shinda, and then I'd like motion to the chain, and he knew what I was saying, and he was able to replace it. And so it's like funny that it worked out okay. So I was learning, but I have lost most of it because I don't use it on a regular basis.
Did you know that, like, the balancing of, like, the schedule and, like, maybe not being perceived as well by your fellow teachers, like, is that something that you knew was going to be a problem, like, before heading over there, or is that just completely?
No, that was not something that I knew would happen, which is probably better, because sometimes, like, if you know some of the adversity that you're going to have, would you do it? Probably not, So it's like, it's kind of a blessing that I didn't know some of the struggles that I would have. And the things that I thought would be hard that came easy, I was like, well, that's so silly. Why did I overstress about that?
Did you have anybody else over there with you? Or was it like
I didn't know anyone. I mean, I met them when we had our training. The other fun fact is, like, a lot of people do it right out of college, right? So I was a decade older than my roommates. So that was a little challenging, just to balance, like, okay, I've been living on my own for a long time, paying all my own bills, and this is new for you. But so I took on kind of a motherly role,
Mama
which
Krohn.
is okay. Actually, they called me Mama Joe, because
her last name wasn't Krohn.
That's true.
It's true.
She was still single.
Yep. But they called. In fact, we had an excursion one time, and we took camels in the desert to Incheon, which is
Wait, what?
Camels in the desert?
Okay, so we took a bus, and we did this excursion where then you got dropped off at this area, I don't know, and we all got camels, and then we tented in the desert for a couple, and this was like not just people from Shanghai, it was people from like Wuhan and Shenzhou and like just different
just for
places.
fun.
Yeah, like all of us missionaries. We planned this weekend excursion. Yep.
That's sweet.
And so then when our breakfast was like bread with jam, and so then I would sit down and I would jam everyone's bread and pass it out, and so that's when I got my nickname, Mama Jo.
Wow, that's awesome.
Okay, so the person that you were living with was not a missionary?
Yes, they were. They both were. They were just young.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So there were 5 of us in our city, and the 3 of us girls had an apartment together, and the 2 guys had an apartment together.
Oh, okay.
And then they would do like men's study, we would do a women's study, but then we would joint do like a regular study, and then we'd have events that we would plan, because like people are really curious about different things that we celebrate. So we had like a Halloween event where we dressed up, which in hindsight now I'm like pretty anti-Halloween, so because of a podcast that was so good that it's like, why do we do this? Like, I want a Reformation party. I love dressing up, don't get me wrong, but like not for that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I always say I don't think it's any accident that Halloween happens to fall on the same day as Reformation Day, you know?
Yeah. So we started having Reformation parties in our house. So like,
that's awesome.
Like, why don't we go to trunk or treat? Because kids, it's evil. And I hate candy because it makes you crazy. So like, I'll give you a treat, one, and then I don't know. I'm becoming that parent.
Are you scared of making resentful kids?
No, because they know how much I love them. Yeah,
That's sweet.
Yeah, so like, you know, they'll probably be like, when they get out of the house, they'll be like, look at all the sugar all around us, and they'll probably go on like a 2-day binge or something, and then I'll be like, yeah, but you're gonna feel sick, right? Mm-hmm. So they're so funny though, because now like, what is it like? You don't need to go to Sunday school for candy. You go to Sunday school to like learn God's word, okay? Like, you don't need to give suckers to kids. Like, that shouldn't be what they look forward to, right? Okay, so but our kids are very well trained. They'll just come home and throw it away right away.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Sometimes it'll be like, Mommy, could I please have one lick and then throw it away? And I was like, yes, you could do that. But the funny thing is that they'll each try their flavor and then they'll swap and then throw them away.
So it's only one lick. They don't like lick it once and then.
Yeah. No, they actually, they're very good kids.
Wow. This woman has trained children to
no,
throw away candy.
I know. Actually, like, I cannot say I would not be able to do it on my own. That is why you have a husband and a wife, because Seth keeps me grounded and is like, no, it's not good for them. Okay, all right, I won't let them have it.
like tears in their eyes as they're like putting it in the trash
funny.
can.
The thing is like, I tell, like, when they have like different things in the classroom, I was like, well, they shouldn't have candy, but they can have chocolate. And their teacher's like, chocolate is candy. I was like, I know, but I'm okay with that.
Is it though? It's not quite the same. It's more natural, you know.
Yeah, kind of.
If it's actually
like,
made from
cocoa in there,
there's
antioxidants.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
good for you.
You're there in China for one
academic year.
Okay.
So it was 2012 to 2013.
Okay.
And then when I came back, that's when I had to apply for grad school and get all of my documentation in while I was living in China.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, thank goodness for, like, technology and the internet and things like that. But, yeah, so I was able to get all of my stuff in, got accepted into the program that I wanted to go to at Minnesota State University in Mankato. I knew my brother and his wife. I had once lived with them when they were in Nashville, and now they're in Minnesota. So I was like, I'll just live with them again and go to grad school. Great. Came home for grad school. They had a dinner party to set me up with their friend's single brother, and the rest is history.
Wow. I feel like I remember that story from Personal Finance,
yes.
the dinner party.
Yes. Yeah. That is my topic of delayed gratification. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a lot of shortcuts along the way that were no good. But yeah, Yeah, you just had to wait for God's timing, and everything works so much
Like,
smoother if you don't. You didn't hear this story.
When you say shortcuts, like other people you were dating, or
yeah, that and like dating apps.
Oh,
they've probably improved since I've used them, but you should be skeptical if
Have
it's called Plenty of Fish. Be skeptical.
is that like a Christian dating
No,
thing?
that's part of the problem.
Oh.
Because there's a lot of fish in the sea. So
right.
Yeah.
Plenty of fish.
Yeah.
That's great when you look at other people just like another option, instead of an actual person. Well, hey, but you learn from those experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you can use it in your class.
Exactly.
I'd be interested to see what the statistics look like of like marriages that come from like dating apps versus like other means. Like I just wonder like what that looks like.
I swore when I was like in high school, I'm never gonna get a dating app. I'm gonna meet somebody authentically, like in person. I know I can see them in person. I know
it might take some knocking some sense into your head, right? Just kidding.
That one hits close.
Anyway, different topic. But I have seen I have friends and family that have met people online, and it's great.
Absolutely.
But I couldn't do it.
I really think it boils down to having the same core values. And if the Lord is front and center, it doesn't matter how you meet that person, because he can use any means to bring you together, but that truly is the most important part, so I think like if you have that in common, I think there's probably some other things you should probably have in common, like I don't know, like just goals in general, and maybe like kindness. I don't know. There's
right, but all that kind of stuff kind of stems from that one thing.
It does. It really does, and that's why so when I started grad school, I was single, and then I met Seth. And
how old were you at this time?
33.
Okay.
Yeah. So, let things simmer. You don't have to know when you are 20, whatever. You know, you don't. And it's fine if you do. And that's like the other thing. It's like there is no bad route. As long as you are faithful and following his lead, it truly does. You will find the path that is meant for you. He already knows. He tells us in Scripture. He's faithful to his promises. So, but I think it's so easy for us to be like, well, part of it is like, is this the one? Is this the one? Is this the one?
Yep.
Yep.
It's really hard not to do that though, right? Because
that's
why it's kind of why you're out there dating.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to find that person.
Absolutely. I know.
But
it is tricky. But so I started grad school single, and then we always do this thing called smile sightings, like things that made you smile. And then it'd be like, well, I had this dinner party and I met this guy, and then later it'd be like, well, we started dating, and then not that long later I'm like, well, we're engaged, and they're like, what?
How much time?
So we met, check this out for a timeline. We met the 28th of August.
Okay.
Our first date was September 8th.
Okay.
We were engaged October 18th.
Oh, what?
My.
Oh my goodness.
But see, I was no young spring chicken.
Yeah.
I know.
So September 8th was your first date, and then a month
under 2
and
months.
10 days later, you're engaged.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I was supposed to sing for a friend's wedding in Arkansas, and so Seth was going to drive me, and I was like, you're going to drive me? He's like, well, yeah, you're my girlfriend. And like, I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care how old you are, when you get labeled, that's like a big significant thing. And I was like, oh, he used the word boyfriend. Okay, this is like legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, so he's like, oh, of course I'll take you to the airport. So, okay, takes me to the airport. Well, my mom, remember back I said she worked for the airline, so I've had flight benefits for a long time. I have a love of flying and traveling because I've had access to that from the time I was in 5th grade. My mom started working for the airline. So she had these benefits so I could fly, but it was standby. So like if there's room, you can get on. Well, there was no room for me in the flight in.
The plane.
Yeah. And so I was like, have you left yet? He said, no, I'll wait just in the area just to make sure. And I was like, well, I have to call Rachel and tell her I can't sing in her wedding. He was like, no, you don't. I'm going to drive you there.
No
and mind you,
way.
This is the fall, and he's a farmer. So this is like a big deal for him to like leave for a few days. So he's like, nope, we're going to drive home. I'll get your stuff. We're going to leave, and we'll get you to Arkansas. And that's like really when we knew. Like we drove, I don't know, however many hours it is to Fayetteville. But like in that time that we left to getting there, like we knew we were going to get married.
Wow.
Yeah. And the cool thing is like I think that this is another thing. If you can travel for that many hours without the radio on,
yes,
you know this is like a substantial thing.
Was there ever like awkward silence, or maybe not
really.
Awkward, but just like
maybe
a lull in conversation?
But not really.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like it's kind of cool.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like MLC students listening, like engagement rates are just gonna like spike after this podcast drops, you know.
Or contentment with wherever you're at.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. But you know, there is just something to knowing. I can understand why that happens so much here, because you both love Jesus and you want to serve him, right? That's awesome. I would say there's probably some other things you want to make sure you're compatible with, but you know, other than that, and if you understand that like marriage and love, yes, it feels great, but it takes work and you have to be intentional. And sometimes you can be mad at each other and not like each other, but still love each other.
Oh, yes.
But it's really great when you can love that person and like them. That's like, I told Seth that the other day. I was like, I love you, honey. I also really like you. It's like, oh, good. But it's like, I think we see what it looks like in Hollywood, and it's always the feelings.
Right.
It's so much more than that. It's a commitment, and commitment takes work.
And sacrifice, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, I will tell you, I'm not very good at this. I'm not always good at putting the best construction on things. So I'll be like, well, that was a jerky thing to say, or whatever. Or like, I get offended, kind of, I'm soft. I get hurt. But the funny thing is like, if I zoom out, I'm like, wow, he did not mean it that way. Why do I take it that way? And I truly think that is like, that is the work of the devil, right? He works at our insecurities, and he knows what mine are so well that like even just the wrong tone,
he's gonna twist it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be like, no, get behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
But you have to be more intentional with like everything, because and I think one of the best advice that I've gotten too is like, the verse like, don't let the sun go down on your anger, like work it out, talk it out.
Okay, so I think people on the podcast know that I'm engaged, but Matilda, my fiance, and I have talked about, like, if we're mad at each other, you can't go to sleep until you figure it out, or at least, have some kind of resolution. Have you found that that's actually possible? Or
yes, but that doesn't mean it's possible. But sometimes resolution isn't the thing you get. It's the forgiving each other, even though you both are feeling raw. Like sometimes you have to be okay. Like sometimes it is human nature, right? Like I don't want to have to be the person to apologize. Like that is such our human nature. And like that ship has sailed for me. I will be the first one, because it's like, this is silly. I don't want to stay mad, and I love you. So like it ultimately doesn't really matter. So let's just get over it. I would love to not be the first one. Like that to me would be like an act of love for my spouse, to be like the one to tell me I'm sorry. But it's okay if that doesn't happen, and it is okay if I'm always the one, I'm not always the one. I'm just saying, like, that's okay. So you have to define what is resolution. Like, is it meaning like sometimes you can't talk about it. Sometimes you have to be okay knowing that you both messed up, and that you don't want to have to talk about it, but you want to forgive each other. But you also don't want to start a really bad pattern of like never talking about it, because then you're going to have the same issues always coming up. It's hard. But I also think like this is also really tricky in the heat of the moment, like don't fight dirty. It's so easy. Yeah. It's so easy when you feel wounded to wound the other person, even though you love that person. Like, it takes a lot of self-control to not do that.
Mm-hmm. I think in arguments, too, like, anytime there's confrontation, there's almost never a circumstance where, like, one of you is just exempt from, like, all blame. It's almost always at least something.
Absolutely. And ultimately, like, we always have to remember, like, if you've not kept one part of the law, you've broken the whole thing. Well, it's the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 10%, 90%. They're still wrong on both sides, and you just have to be humble enough to recognize it and just be willing to move on. So, yeah, it's a tricky thing. But I don't care if you're, like, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, engaged, friends, roommates, like, child and parent, siblings, it's just it's a hard thing because probably because society tells us, like, oh no, you're right, you're the man, right? Well,
yeah. I think society is totally morphed the way that, like, marriage is looked at and the way marriage is done. It honestly breaks my heart to see what God ordained perfectly just be almost torn to shreds in a lot of ways. And I do think, like, with the amount of, like, divorce rates spiking in America, a lot of that I imagine stems from one, American culture, but, like, just, like, seeing pop stars and stuff. Like, people look to them as, like, their heroes, and then they see them divorcing, and it's like, well, if they're divorcing, then it's okay if I divorce. And it's like, it's broken almost, I don't want to say beyond repair, but that's kind of what it feels like sometimes, where I just don't know if we're ever going to see a point where it's getting better in America, which is kind of sad. Yeah.
Well, and I think because we don't understand commitment. What does that mean?
Yeah, what does it
I'll be committed if you do all the things that I like, right?
Conditional.
Right? Yep. It is. It totally is. I mean, and as long as there's sin in the world, no. I mean, the thing is I guess it's kind of comforting. It's like they had this issue back in the Bible times, right? Like, so, I mean, if they struggled with it then, when we think, like, life was easier, they didn't have, like, Instagram or what, or, like, Snapchat and all these things that also get in the way of, like, our interactions with
Mm-hmm.
each other. Like, it's not a new issue. It's maybe, a little bit of taking a exponentially grown, but but I really do think it's because it's like, well, if I don't like it, I'll just trade it. We treat our marriages like our cars, right?
Yeah.
Like, ooh, there's a dent. I don't like it. I'm going to get something new,
I really like that.
Or you can just go and take it and get it fixed.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, well, people aren't that easy. You can't just say, I'm going to fix you,
Right.
Yeah. Why would I spend money on repairing a car when I can just buy a new one?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Mm-hmm. I like what you said about, maybe it is perceived as odd that on this campus there's a lot more, like, engagements or, people dating, but it's because there's the shared values. Mm-hmm. And when you have an idea of what unconditional love actually looks like from Jesus, then you can have an idea of how to apply that in your marriage. Mm-hmm. That's really the only thing that's going to get you through, because you're not the most lovable person, that your partner's not the most lovable person ever. We're both messed up people, so if you can't look past those things and just love them the way that Jesus does, you're doomed from the start. I think.
Can we? Not really, but we can try. I know that's not your point. I just, but that's also a good reminder. It's like we can't. I just had, so one of the other things that I like to do is I lead a women's study at Trinity. So we meet the second Saturday of the month. It's like one of my favorite days of the month. I love being with my family, but there is something about being with your sisters, and I think men are the same. You need a men's study. You need to be, you can have lots of different kinds of studies, but I think there's something helpful to be with people. Like, there are differences between men and women, right? And like to be able to have a study that is catered to that, so that you can think about things the way you do without having to, like, explain them to the other way of thinking, i.e. the other gender, right? But
waffles and spaghetti.
Yeah.
So we just had one we had it on the second Saturday in February, which was Valentine's Day, right?
No.
So people were like, are we still having it? I was like, well, yeah, we're having it. Like that, yes. But it was all about God's love. And it was like how wide and deep and high, you know, and like we looked at all these great verses. And I truly think that we need to remember that our fulfillment in that love feeling can't come from our spouse. It needs to come from God, because our spouses will disappoint us. God's love never will, which that's mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like this is especially true. This is my perception, but I really think that is tied to, like, for women, this is especially hard, because if you think about the curse God gave Eve, and your desire will be for your husband and he will rule over you. I truly think that is him giving us the warning, wives, you're going to want to make your husband like the most important, but don't forget me, because I am more important than even your spouse.
Wow.
Sink in, right? I know. And it's like I have to retell myself this, and even like as a mother, like man, my little baby cubs, right? Like they mean so much to me, but I still have to love God more than my own children.
Abraham, yeah.
Right? I think that that is a really hard concept for us, I think.
And the most loving thing you can do for that other person is to tell them that you love Jesus more than them.
I know.
Because you putting that burden on them is unrealistic, and it's just going to fracture your relationship even more.
Although Hazel did ask me, Mommy, am I supposed to love Gus the same as you and Daddy or less? Like, Hazel, just love Jesus the most, and then everyone else, it'll be fine.
It'll settle in.
That's right.
Yeah.
But he had to write, the stories just of being, I hope everyone has the opportunity to be a parent, because, it is the hardest job I've ever had, but it's also so fulfilling. Gus he had this little paper for his Bible story. He was learning about Ruth and Boaz, and it was like, draw a picture of the thing that you were most thankful for that God has given you. And it was a picture of Hazel, his sister. Aww. It's so sweet.
Oh,
that's cute. That's really cute.
Super cute.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if that love stays throughout the teenage years.
How are they right now?
They're 9 and going to be 7 next Friday.
Wow.
Okay.
Saturday. It's his golden birthday. But yeah, so they're 2 years apart. You know, just like any siblings, they get on each other's nerves, but they truly are best friends.
That's awesome.
I really hope that, I feel like some of that is up to us to help encourage, right, and support that. But yeah.
Built-in best friends. That's what they always call it in my family. You know, you don't get to really, you get to choose who your friends are, you get to choose who your spouse is, but you never get to choose who your family is. So, yeah.
Which is unfortunate for some people.
I hope the camera captured the look that you gave while saying that. Yeah, no. I do think it's interesting talking about the subject of God's love. It's so incomprehensible compared to anything that we can try to rationalize as humans. We talked about it in, I think, John's Gospel today, where it's the idea of giving up your son, your one and only son, to save not just it's not like he gave up, God the Father gave up Jesus Christ his son to save his other perfect and holy children. He gave up his one and only son, the only thing that had never disappointed him or sinned against him. He gave that up and said, you go die. And he gave that up for the people who are enemies of him and have actively rebelled against him and have rebelled against him since the dawn of time. And it's that's just, it's so hard to rationalize that. We can go through the words Jesus loves me, this I know, but when you actually stop and think about it, it just doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, it is fascinating talking about God's love.
While we were still sinners, Christ died for us.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yet, isn't it so funny? It's like we know that, but it's so easy to just be like, yep, that's cool. Go on my way.
Mm-hmm.
Buy some Amazon. Like, stop it quick. You know what I mean? Like, we just go about our day and, like, but he knows that about us and still loves us. It's pretty cool.
I do think there's something to be said, too, where it's like, I think we as human beings, we can tend to, like, gloss over, like, maybe the repetitious words and phrases that you see in the scripture and, like, liturgy or in hymns. But it's like, when did the phrase Jesus loved me ever stop becoming, like, when did that become any less of a surreal, powerful doctrinal statement?
Mm-hmm.
Like, like, Jesus loves me is just as influential, if not more so, than any of the great declarations of faith that you see, like, our forefathers write and stuff. And it's just, it's 3 words, and yet it's the most powerful, transcendent phrase in America, and not just America, in the world. So, yeah.
That's why we teach it to our children. But, like, we as adults need to, like, really, like you said, we need to internalize when we're singing, Jesus loves me, this I know. Like, that it's significant. It's not some, like, nursery rhyme that you learned when you were a kid. It's, like, a significant biblical truth that should, like, bring you joy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when your kids are looking at you when you're singing that together or just in church in general, and they see that your face is just dead, and you're just going through the motions, like, they get more out of that than if you're, like, sitting down with them and trying to read Bible stories. Like, they watch you more than you think they do. And, like, the parents that say, do as I say, not as I do, are just, that doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It's pretty funny because our like, the kids kind of know what our passions, I guess, are, like, in this world. Like, I mean, I don't know if cooking and baking is my passion, but I'm in the kitchen an awful lot feeding my family. But it was so cute because, like, the other day, like, Seth he is pretty inspirational to me. I always thought, like, as a young girl with a dad as a pastor, like, I really truly thought, like, in the future I'm probably gonna marry a pastor because, like, my dad's a pastor and I love Jesus. But it's so cool that, like, he's like, I am going to flip what you think will feed you spiritually. And, like, my husband spends a good amount of time studying scripture, and he's got this amazing library. That would have been cool. We should have filmed it there. His, like, Bible collection is, like, legit.
That's cool.
But it's pretty funny that the kids, like, I don't remember what the exact, like, context was, but it was like, oh yeah, that would be Daddy reading his Bible. And I was like, I love that you know that about your father. Like, that speaks so much to, like you were saying, like, that's what they're gonna see that, and it's like, it's something tangible that they'll be like, oh yeah, that's Daddy's study where he reads the Bible and studies it. I should do that more together with him.
Yeah.
There is something, like, as a parent, your kids will base everything that they experience in life off of the experiences that they had with you guys growing up. So
no pressure.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you said. It's part of what makes it so challenging as a parent. There's so many things that go with it. But yeah, I know for me, like, I grew up in a pastor household, and, like, it was always really cool to see my dad, going up and doing his thing every Sunday morning. And, like, the Christian faith and Jesus, like, that was always, like, extremely important in our household. But I do kind of wonder if it's almost more impactful in a way if your father and mother aren't, like, called workers, if they aren't pastors and teachers, and they're just, like, lay people, and, like, they're taking their faith that seriously, and, like, you still see them doing devotions, participating in Bible study, going to church. I think there's something to that almost is more powerful because they're not being forced to do that, I guess. They're not being paid to do that. They're just doing it because they want to and they love Christ that much. So.
And I'm going to push back a little bit on you.
Okay.
Because I would say, I think in either situation, I think it depends on the joy that they have doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
because,
definitely.
like, yes, was that my dad's job, but he chose it because he was so passionate about it. Like, My dad's first, like, back when you, like, music, you didn't get it on a CD or download it. It was a record. His first record was, like, a choir singing choral anthems because that's what he wanted. Like, wow. So he knew, you know, like, from the time he... So, you know what I mean? Like, so definitely. To me, that was just as impactful. I mean, that's what he's ever... Like, he's always been a called worker, so I can't imagine, you know, but, you know, like, so for me, it was seeing that joy and, like, how he worked with his people. Like, to me, I don't think it would have mattered what his career was because of just, it was that important to him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I get what you're saying, but I don't want to discount watching your parent, who is a called worker, doing that as well.
I think, for me, this story is, like, it stands out to me because I think growing up, when I was younger, I recognized how passionate my dad was. And then you get to, like, the teenage years, and it's like, I don't know, when you're a teenager, I feel like you tend to see the worst in everybody instead of the best. So it's like I would be critical on my dad. And my senior year, my dad accepted a call. I had been in Washington my entire life growing up, and he accepted a call to Michigan, where he grew up, a lot of family around there. And I remember being so mad, like, at him because I was like, it's my senior year, and now I have to spend my senior year packing up my childhood home so you guys can move halfway across the country. And that was awful. And I remember talking to my dad one day, and I was like, did you accept this call because you even love God, or just because it was convenient, it's where you grew up and you're surrounded by family? Wow. I was an idiot.
I mean, hey.
Not something I recommend.
It's a real question.
Yeah, not something I recommend necessarily for all people. But I remember asking him that. And my dad never really yelled at us that much as kids. He always made a point to do that. But that was the one time where I remember in the later years where my dad, like, as soon as I said that, he just got so fired up. And I just remember him just, like, standing up. Don't ever question how much I love God. And he went on about that. And that was, like, he was I don't know if mad at me or if upset at me or disappointed in me. I don't know what I'd describe it, but I just remember in that moment, even though it was like an intense moment, I remember instantly it was like a switch got flipped with how I viewed my dad, where I was like, wow, my dad is 60 years old, been in the ministry for 34 years, and he still has this much fire and passion. Like, wow. And ever since then, I've never, ever questioned my dad and, like, how he approaches ministry and his passion for it. And yeah, it's just so true. All to go back to your point, where when you see your parents, even called worker parents, like, show that much fire and passion for ministry, it's so powerful. Like, it completely affects how you view God, how you view the necessity and the importance of your faith. So yeah.
Out of curiosity, have you ever talked to him about that moment with time passing?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It was kind of cool. Like, for me specifically, my relationship with my parents in the later years of high school wasn't the best because, like I said, I think I definitely I viewed the worst in them, not necessarily the best. But it's kind of cool to see how God works everything out. With my mom and dad leaving for Michigan, I ended up staying back in Washington because I had a really good job out there. So I lived with my brother and sister out there for a couple summers after they left. And it was almost like the time apart from my parents, and then coming here to MLC, it totally made me rethink and appreciate how I looked at them. Where it's like, wow, like, were they the perfect parents? No, nobody ever is. But they did their very best, and they instilled in me the importance of Christian faith and Jesus, and they made sacrifices for me then and now that I can't even begin to comprehend. So yeah, I have told them that, and I think we had a good cry about that a couple summers ago, coming back. But yeah.
On your graduation, Cody, I encourage you to write your dad a letter.
MLC graduation?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it would be really good for him to read your words.
Yeah. I do think they listen to the podcast. I'm not sure. I've never actually asked them, but yeah, if they do, he's probably crying right now. Yeah.
That's really cool, because in that moment you gained a lot of respect for your dad, whereas before you kind of didn't see maybe the why he was doing anything, or it was hard for you to see his heart. Not that he wasn't showing it, but that you were just choosing not to see it. But in that moment you couldn't ignore it. Yeah. Like he was just right out there with it.
Yeah. I think my dad's a pretty cool person. Yeah. So I am kind of curious. So you get back from China, you get married. How does that bring you to MLC necessarily?
Oh, yeah.
What's the years in between there?
So my graduate program started, was it 13, 14? Yeah, 13, 14, 14, 15. So it was a 2-year program. So the last year you need an internship. Well, okay, so what was happening here on campus, Gene Sledadal was the financial aid director, and he was retiring. And so they had posted the job, and so we live in Nicollet. So I was like, oh, I've been eyeing if there would be a financial aid job, because that's what I had been doing before graduate school, is working in financial aid. I think I mentioned at St. Olaf. And so I was like, oh, that'd be really amazing to do what I know, but at our school. Mm-hmm. How cool. So I saw that he was retiring and that there was a posting, and I applied for the job. I was going to grad school at the time, which they knew, but in the interview, I gotta give kudos to VP Schoen, because he has championed this program from the get-go. If it weren't for him, truly, I would not be here today. The Lord definitely worked through him, because one of the things that we talked about in the interview was like how passionate I'm about financial education. I was like, oh yeah, we did this financial wellness program at St. Olaf in conjunction with the financial aid office, and it was really great, and that's like something that I would really love to like bring more of. So they did not hire me for the director position, which is such a blessing. They hired Mark Bauer instead, who left a few years ago. Great fit. He was a wonderful director. He got to work with Gene. They brought me in as for my internship, because VP Schoen knew the master's program I was going through, and he was like, you should do your internship here. And so how the financial wellness program, the beginning of MLC direction was, I sat in the library. I had my little computer, and I sat in one of the little rooms for however many hours a day, and I met one-on-one with seniors. And that's what I was like, let's look at what a budget might look like for you next year. And like, it was very like, that's what I did for all of my internship hours, was meeting one-on-one with seniors to help them understand, like, this is how much you've borrowed in loans. And that's pretty much what I did for my internship. And then they're like, I think this is good. Let's make this a position, but we'll put you with financial aid. You know that you can support the department. So I was working in financial aid, doing financial wellness. And so like the spring of 2015, so that would have been when I was finishing grad school, is when it kind of like we soft launched MLC direction. But then it has grown since then. I've been able to do more programming. We brought on Cash Course, so you have like opportunities to, like, it may not be your favorite thing, but it's an opportunity to do a couple topics that will help you with your finances. Whether you because this was before there was a course that you could even take, right?
Before personal finance.
Before personal finance was even a thing. So then we started working with Cash Course, and I got involved in a couple different organizations. Well, in 2020, I got my accreditation to be a financial counselor through AFCPE. So then, and I was able to use all the hours that I was counseling students anyways on finance. So now I had this additional endorsement. And then behind the scenes, they wanted a different kind of math course that would help our graduates be ready to deal with their own finances, and then, adjacently be able to help, if you're a church or a school, help understand organizational finances as well. So that first year, Greg Holtzeter, he taught the course that year. I don't know the transition behind the scenes, but they, I think, wanted him to do more with the academic support. And so then they asked if I would teach the course. And so I was an adjunct for 3 years teaching, but also doing all of the financial aid stuff, which was getting a little hard because I felt like I was doing all faculty and all staff things, and I was like, when can I take a break? Because when faculty are on break, then I'm doing all the staff stuff. When staff are on break, I'm doing all the so it got really difficult. And it still is kind of a weird blend of doing faculty things and some administration things, and so and that's fine. It'll be a weird thing, but that's okay. Like, it's fun being a unicorn sometimes, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so,
I guess.
then eventually we're like, all right, could we make this a full thing? And so then because I didn't go here, I went to Bethany, and then I went to Concordia St. Paul and got my education degree there. So I finished up the 2 classes I needed. Took BHL with Tutor Bush, and then I took a class with Professor Ewer. Those are the 2 classes that I needed. Got Synod certified, and then was installed in 24-25. Yeah, last year.
That's right.
Yeah. And then, so 2 years now being a full called worker. So, yeah.
Okay, but you were here when I visited in, 2022.
Yes, because I've been here since 2015.
Right, so, but your office was downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you're...
Well, that just happened to be with, someone else needed that, so they moved me here, because I'm actually part of the math division.
Right, that makes sense,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that... Yeah, all of that. So I actually still do admissions visits, and I still support financial aid office as much as I can. So that's but I also do the financial wellness program, which I haven't been able to really grow in the last few years just because of with all of the other things going on. But I'm happy with where it is. I would love to offer more things, but I love my senior sessions. I remember how I said I was doing one meeting for a while, literally in an 8-hour day, I would have 7 meetings, 7-hour-long meetings.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would book them back to back to back, and it'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm so tired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how receptive are those college students to?
I think pretty good. But actually, now this transition to group sessions, I think is win-win for everyone. I think it is fun to meet in a group. We can re-talk about some people have taken the class, some people haven't. So we just re-talk about SECA taxes, and we do some calculations, and then we practice putting a called worker budget together. And they're an hour and a half to 2 hours, but it's a one-time thing, and you're with a group of people. And I think it works really well, because then you're hearing the content with your peers, and then you can be like, hey, what was that? I don't know. I really like it. People can still meet individually. In fact, any student on campus, if they want a meeting, that's why I have a QR code outside my office. Snap a picture, have a meeting, we can talk about whatever. And so that's where the rest of my time gets backfilled, usually, is with just meetings with students.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Helping out with whatever. But yeah, so my wall of what our different themes have been over the years. Yeah,
are you gonna reuse any of them? Or are you hoping to?
I don't know. I actually really love my Be a Good Steward of Your Money, the Wheel of Finance one, because I just think it's pretty iconic. But now I'd have to use probably the new Nighthead, which I don't know.
Doesn't go as well with it.
I don't. It might be fine. But actually, in the last 2 years, I didn't create. Maybe I didn't even do Checkmate Your Debt. No, the last 3 years I haven't made the themes. The top row and the black one, I did those themes. But starting with Checkmate Your Debt, Girls Just Want to Have Funds, and Dinosaur Your Financial Stability. That's all you guys. The students submit their ideas.
Oh, really? That's
April,
fun.
May-ish, and then it gets voted on. The second place that we almost had an ABBA theme. Money, money, money.
Ooh, yeah.
Something funny. I don't remember. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just was seeing a lot of black and gold glitter letters for the T-shirt. I do that design. I'm not so if you don't like it, volunteer and help me design T-shirts. But if you like it, great. Then I'm doing something all right.
I do like the Financial Survivor one. I think that one's my favorite.
I think I need to bring that one back, because you know why? This year is
50th.
the 50th season. Yes, Cody knows what's up.
I'm
roommate really excited.
My roommate is a hardcore Survivor fan, and I'm not kidding. I will be in my room studying Hebrew, and he'll be watching YouTube channels break down and make predictions on the upcoming Survivor series.
That is fantastic. They're actually airing. I haven't watched them all. Seth has watched all of them, and I think as a family, the kids really want to watch
all of them.
Ones. Yeah, every season he's watched. Yeah.
It is a pretty interesting show.
It's very cool.
Yeah. I remember my parents watching it when I was like a little kid. Like they watched a couple of seasons, and I was like, "Wow, this is fun." Mm-hmm. But then, I haven't gotten into it.
But they're airing the old seasons that the people who are from those seasons were on. So last night we watched a little bit of South America. I don't remember. That data. It was Ozzy and Coach. If you know them, it was the season that they were on, like Redemption Island. That was the season. Yeah. So, like, I think I could jazz that one up a little bit, and like that maybe I'll be like, you can't vote this year because this is what we're doing in honor of the 50th. I don't know, but I had a torch and everything.
Really?
Like,
wow. Sweet. Like, that's sick.
Burn their money.
Yeah.
Wow.
You've been voted out. The tribe has spoken.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Wow. I don't even know how we got there. Well, we'll know. Okay.
Well,
getting to MLC.
An MLC direction and our financial wellness program.
Okay. So, were there any parts of your story that you think your faith flourished or suffered more than others?
I will be 100% honest. COVID was the worst year of working probably anywhere. But, like, it was bad. I didn't know if I was going to have to quit my job, which I loved so much.
Right, but not knowing that.
Yeah. Well, and the reason wasn't because it was the whole mask debate. And, like, are you vaccinated or not vaccinated? And it was becoming, like, it was not a good work environment for whatever perspective you had at the time. It was contentious and it was visible, and it was like, this is not right. We're supposed to be united in Christ, but other people's ideas infiltrated what really mattered. And so I got a little fired up there were days that I was like, honey, I don't know if I can do this. And he was like, yeah, I don't know if you can either. I'm not making you, like, I don't want you to do something that compromises your own code of ethics either. So that was a really hard time.
Yeah.
And so there was like, Lord, I don't know. Like, I love this place. I love the mission, but I don't know if I can get on board with some of the stuff because so that was really, really hard for me.
Yeah.
You could probably read between the lines what my view is.
Well, how do you navigate, like, making space for other people to have their opinion, but then also having your opinion, and at the same time, like, this administration or whatever the situation is making you only choose one?
I know. It was so hard. It was so hard because there were, like, battle lines being drawn, essentially. Like, are you in this camp or this camp? And then, like, and the hard thing is it because it's like people, you don't know, and it was a little scary, and it's like, well, I don't know, what is the right thing to do? Is it to get this shot? Is it not to get this shot? Well, like, I don't know. I tend to question a lot of things before I, like, just jump on the bandwagon. Although some people would say, like, that's also jumping on a bandwagon. So, yeah.
Right.
It's yucky.
It's a messy world.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But, in hindsight, like, again, reminders of heaven is not here on earth. We are not made for this place. We're made for something better. We just have to, like, in the process, do what we can to be the salt, to be the light. But it's hard when it's like you're having friction with fellow believers. I think that is the trickiest thing. And I think the devil loves that, to be honest. It's like, he's like, yeah, sweet. Let him go at it.
Right.
Yeah. And the most damaging attacks usually aren't the ones that, like, you see coming head on. It's usually the ones that happen from behind or even in your midst necessarily. So.
And just even, like, the political landscape, it's tricky because it's like, they say, like, you should never talk about religion or politics. And it's like, you can see why. Because even that, like, if you have, like, a certain viewpoint, I mean, there should be space for people to have their own. It's just really hard when, like, what happened to common sense as well? Like, can we have that and then put that in and our faith? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
hard.
I hear you.
So, yeah, there's even things, like, that become almost taboo for us as fellow believers on this campus to have dialogue about, which is hard.
Yeah.
Because it's things that we feel so personally and passionately about, so I have to be careful because it leaks out. I can't help it in class, but you can believe something different and you can have a different mindset, but I'm also I'm a human and I'm going to probably share what my ideas are.
Yeah. Well, being a Christian doesn't mean you have to vote one party or the other necessarily. It's such there's so many factors involved in it.
I know.
But yeah.
And adults that are Christians are able to hold two things in tension. I believe what I believe, and you believe what you believe, and we're both dearly loved by God, and we can talk about those things, and with Jesus' help, we can manage our emotions and things like that, and actually listen to the other person to understand. That's what adults can do that, and if you're not able to do that, then
In
theory. I don't think that's very a Christ-like thing.
Well, and the hard part is that oftentimes, let's be real. Yes, we can with the help of the Lord, but do we ask Him? And are we listening to that voice when we're giving our impassioned, I don't know. And I'm guilty of this too, because I have very strong opinions, but I have to keep them in check, and ultimately there has to be a point where it's it doesn't matter what either of us think or believe because it's irrelevant. It's what the Lord deems will happen. So, but at the same time, you also can't sit on your hands. So I am going to make sure that I am advocating for the things that are important. I just have to be careful how and where and when.
Right.
Yeah. It's so tough. I mean, anytime politics and ministry overlap, there's just, I don't know, nobody comes out unchanged or unaffected by that, I feel like. And COVID probably exemplified that to the highest degree. I know my experience in Tacoma, Washington was probably different than your experience in Wisconsin and in Minnesota. And yeah, I mean, I remember in all the churches out there, different people are leaving the churches because of different beliefs, and different people coming into churches because of different policies, and that's just not something that I think anyone ever foresaw coming into effect, especially at the start of it, where it's it'll be 1-2 weeks, and then years later it's this is still a thing. So
which is so sad, because that's the last reason you want someone to leave a church, is because of the politics.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
It's messy.
Yeah.
I will say, though, it was kind of well, I may as well get something out of it. I kind of liked the theme that year. It's protect your finances, and it's a piggy bank with a mask on. I think it's hilarious, but I do feel uncomfortable wearing it, so I don't wear that one. But it's funny. But I would say one of the highlights would probably be getting to work here while going through 2 pregnancies was kind of a cool thing. Yeah. Because there was a lot of support and just there had been a baby famine, I don't know, is that a thing? I don't know, for a while.
A drought.
And yes, a drought. And then all of a sudden, the year that I was pregnant with Hazel, there were we have a picture, there is an MLC picture with all of the babies that were born during that particular time, and it was a ton, which is just awesome. Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
That's cute.
So how do you navigate being a professor and working as admissions? Is that the term?
Well, really financial aid.
Okay, financial aid, professor, financial aid, and being a mother and a wife. That's a lot of different hats. So, and it's kind of unique. I know we talked about it. Not a lot of other people on campus really have that I guess, assortment of responsibilities.
It's funny because I think it's really easy to be yeah, I've got this, and this, but it's funny when I talk to my coworkers, it's they had a whole lot of hats that we all do, and I don't coach a sport. A lot of our professors coach a sport. Thank goodness I don't have to, because It'd be like, just have fun, play your best, and like I wouldn't know how to like help you hone your skills. So like this is probably a good thing, right? We all have our strengths. But like everyone here does, but I will say like as far as the female faculty on this campus, I am the only female faculty with children. There's several of the male faculty members, but I will say it is your role as a mother is different than a father, because like, do the kids get sad when daddy's not home? Yes. Do they get sad when I'm not home? They cry. You know, like
right, yeah.
At bedtime, it's really hard. So when we have evening meetings, it's like, yeah, well, they'll be fine, but like it is very hard for them to not see mommy before they go to bed. Because that's the age that they're in right now. And they, you know, not to say that they don't love Seth. And like when he was in meetings, last year he was the school board chairman, and like he was gone for meetings a lot. And that got very hard on them as well. But it's different. Like Hazel's homesick this morning. Actually last night she's like, Mommy, I just wish you didn't have to go to work so you could stay with me. Daddy's home with her, but like she wants mommy, you know, just because of that nurturing aspect that God instilled in women, right? Like, so it is challenging, but it's also like, it's cool when I can bring them here, and I love when my family can visit. Like we had the small grade school tournaments this last weekend.
I saw you with your kids,
And so my nephew was playing, and like the whole we all came, except for Sunday when Hazel was sick. But I like them to see where I work. They get excited to be here. They want to meet all the students. You know, they think they're pretty hot stuff sometimes, and they're like, "Ooh, I'm at my mommy's work," you know. They also think it is cool when they get to go in the combine and tractors with daddy, and go like, you know, in the semi and do, you know, so it like
that sounds pretty
they
sweet,
they love being where both parents are, you know. It's different.
I feel like it's probably got to be pretty hard on you too, like when you have those evening meetings and you don't get to like have that mommy time with your kids and stuff.
It is a little, it is, and I keep, you know, it's like okay, it's one night, but it's one night quarterly. That's 4 nights. But you know, it is, and sometimes I will, like one of the times I like, because we have our faculty meetings usually at 7, and I'll go home sometimes and then like hang out with them for a bit and then come back. But that's like, I'm also like cost like aware, and it's like that is like a lot of gallons of gas just to go home and back, so normally I stay, so I don't go home in between. So you know, but that's it's a sacrifice that you have to make, and it's not all the time. So
and it's important for your kids to know that there's more to the world than just them, you know.
For sure, they do. We remind them. Or those. That's the difference about having kids when you're older. Like we parent different than like, you know, like, because I used to laugh. Like my mom told me that apparently I don't remember saying this because it sounds horrible, and I don't remember saying horrible things to my mother.
Of course
but
not.
I told her, I guess, I'll air quote, I told her, I think it was my sister, but whatever, I don't want to be an old mom like you. Brutal. Wow. Right? Ironically, the Lord, he's so funny. He's like, haha, JoElyn, I'm going to make you older than your mom was. Touche. So, you know, there's something like that. There's like life that comes with being an older parent, right? But then I'm also like, I don't have the energy that some of my friends do with their kids who are the same age. So like, I think it's funny because like my mom was about a decade older than some of my classmates' parents, and I'm definitely a decade older than like my Gus's siblings. They're friends of ours, but I'm like, oh yeah, you're babies. You don't know any of the references that I'm talking about with pop culture when I was going to high school.
Nope.
Because you weren't born. So it's kind of fun.
Do you think being an older parent has made you more don't take this the wrong way, more like a strict parent or like a chill parent?
I don't think it's the age. It's the way that Seth and I intentionally have chosen to parent. We are definitely strict.
Okay.
Because boundaries are important.
Right.
And as you said, the world doesn't revolve around my children. Like, they need to know that. Our society, unfortunately, has that messed up. That's why we have, I think, certain issues with our youth. Like, everything is catered to children. And, like, children are great, and they are a blessing. But there is something to be said about teaching them respect. And, like, no, like, even a simple thing, like, watching at a family function where the kids choose to sit. Don't you dare sit in grandma and grandpa's seat. They are the eldest. You know, like, not my children. No, I'm just kidding. You sit on the floor. No, but realistically, like, it is so crazy. If you take a step back and observe what families do, it is crazy to me. And yes, the path of least resistance is easier, right? If they're whining, you give them the thing. No, you just taught them that they can get the thing when they whine. Right. But so we're kind of strict. But at the same time, like, that's why no sugar, right?
Right, yeah, which is fair.
But that is also because we really think we are intentional about what our role is. And sometimes that is hard because it's like, oh, they just want that. I want to give it to you because I love you. But it's not good for you, you know? Like, so it's tricky.
Can I pose this question to you? So when you get married to your spouse, that person is like your responsibility is to them first before anybody else, really, in the whole world. But then when you choose to have kids, does that shift, or is the spouse still first and the kids you're just part of our life now? How do you go about that?
That's how it should be. It really, and I will tell you, I am not as good at this as Seth is good at. He is much better at putting me before the kids. It is very difficult for a mother to do that. It is, but I have to. Seth needs to be more important than our kids because I am teaching them how to be with their spouse.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Like, but and we tease them on that. It's like, well, daddy is more important, you know, like mommy is more important, and like we say that tongue in cheek, but realistically, they like, and we also have always wanted to make sure that they fit into our life. We're not going to change everything for you. That doesn't mean that we're not going to like, oh, you have this thing going on, let's go do it because that's important to you. But it also means like the calendar is not dictated by you. Like activities would make it look like it is, but you know what I mean. Like, that is a great question, and it takes a lot of thought, and I'm not always good at it because one of the things even too is like even just having a dinner conversation, right? Like the kids really want to talk to me, but like sometimes they will interrupt when Seth and I are talking, and it's like, no, I'm talking to daddy right now. You have to wait. And sometimes that waiting is kind of a long time, and I feel bad inside, but it's like, no, stand your ground. This is important. So yeah, it is a tricky balancing thing, but I do think it is. I think it is. He's better at it. I don't know if it's easier or if he's just better, but maybe both. But either way, he's much better at it, and I have to be careful.
It's something to work on.
And I think it's partly because they're also the age that they have needs, and they're very. But so does he, you know. But theirs are like right in your face. Like I have to change them, or I have to like they need a snack because they're getting. Well, I sometimes forget that like. You know, your spouses aren't like laid out there for everyone to see. They're more internal.
Yeah.
So this is very good. This is like therapy, free therapy. Yes. Okay. His needs are internal. Remember that, wife.
Well, and it's almost like a trickle down effect, because if you're healthy at the top and you're listening to each other, then it kind of affects the whole culture of the family. Whereas if one parent's listening to one kid and the other parent's listening to the other kid, and the parents are never coming together to confer or just listen to each other, then it's just kind of there's separation there.
Absolutely.
And there shouldn't be.
I think it all kind of stems from, like, we talked earlier about, like, putting Christ at the top. And then that just kind of the natural order of things is Christ at the center, marriage, and then the kids all kind of just work in, like, that harmonious line, I guess. I wanted to say, like, one thing briefly is I've read some like parenting books in the past, and one of the things that I vividly remember is like if you are a husband or wife coming home, your kids are always going to be like waiting for you at the door, and everyone talks about how like that's like one of the coolest parts about being a parent. But I don't remember what book it was, but the author said make a point to like go hug and like kiss your spouse before you hug and kiss your kids, because that shows you that messages and tells them how it should be like one day when they have their own spouse, which I found interesting. That always kind of stuck with me.
I'm gonna do that tonight.
Which is really hard when your kids are like, Mommy.
You know, the funny thing is right now, I love this. They have been working on Nintendo 64 together. That's like Daddy and Hazel and Gus time, and it's awesome. And I think he's like, I don't know if he thinks that I love it, but unfortunately they're down in the basement, and so then when I get home, the first room I'm in is the kitchen, and then I don't leave for like an hour.
Oh man.
So but what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna put my stuff down and then find Seth wherever he is and greet him first. And I'll report back how it goes.
That'd be awesome.
There you go. Yeah.
But I think that is really good advice, and I think that's that other thing where it's like some needs they're very visible, other needs are not. They're internal, right? But that is a need of each spouse, is to make sure that you know, like I'm happy to see you. I'm coming back to you. And these other two kids that we happen to have, but no.
Yeah. I think a lot of like parenting too is, I don't know if this is the right term, but like passive parenting, where it's like you're not maybe directly interacting with your kids, but like you're doing other things, and like your kids are picking up on that, like how you treat your spouse, how you go about doing your work, how you balance all that stuff. Like they're like taking mental notes, whether they even realize it or not. So there's just so much more that goes on into parenting, I imagine, than just how you interact with your kids specifically. So.
And I will say, you guys have it harder than I have it. Like, it is very difficult to be a strong male husband and father in the society that we have right now, because they have taken that and made that a bad thing for you to be a strong man. And it is so necessary. One of the things that I appreciate the most about my husband is he has my back and he will defend me, not just to like our parents, but also, but most importantly, to our children, and it's like, no, you do not talk to mommy that way. And that is so significant, is that I don't even have to ask him to stand up for me. He does it. And he is really good at making sure that they know, nope, this is your mother. You will not do that. And like, it is, that is, I will say, one thing that was very different dating him than some of the other yahoos. Granted, they was much younger in my life, so they didn't really know how to be a man at that point yet. But like, you need to protect your wives. You do. And that may look like overbearing to some people. It is not. So that, I don't know, that it's just such a significant thing that I just like respect so much about what he does.
That's awesome.
I've always thought that that's gonna be one of the coolest things. Hopefully, if and when I get married and have kids, is seeing how my wife interacts with kids and how she becomes a mother. Like I've often heard women describe like that's one of the things that they enjoy the most about seeing from their husband, is seeing him become a father. But I think it goes vice versa for us as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's cool because it's like this little human, like it's like half and half, It's like it's crazy. Although Gus did ask me, he's like, I think I'm more yours than Daddy, because he said, because you borned me. You borned me. Yes. Yep. No, son, like you are 50-50.
I have always thought that it would be like, I can't imagine being like a woman, like having this, like growing this baby inside of you for 9-10 months, and then this baby comes out and he or she looks exactly like your husband. Like, that's got to be like, I've heard stories where it's like, that's the worst, but yeah. Like, if I'm going to go through all this pain, the least you could do is look like me, you know?
Whatever, this is truth. I mean, if you're planners, I get it. I have a friend who is a planner, and she needs to know what gender her baby is, and that's totally fine. I won't take, you do that if that's, but I will say there is nothing like not knowing, because it is like, for me, I needed like motivation to get through it. So it's like, let's not find out. And we were wrong both times. We thought Hazel was a boy and Gus was a girl. And
like, did you have any reason to think that? You're just like, I got this feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So mother's intuition's a myth, you'd say?
Yeah. How can you really know?
I've heard some women
Although I will say that my second one, everyone who's had a baby is like, oh, I know how you're carrying that baby. It's a boy. And I was like, whatever. But they may not have been wrong. So, yeah.
Wow.
There you go. Oh, this is awesome.
This has been such a fun conversation.
This has been very awesome.
And I know I like, there's questions I want to ask, but I want to keep going for another 2 hours.
We want to be mindful of your time.
You got to get home and see your husband and your kids playing. Okay, I was going to ask this, though.
64, yeah.
For those of us who don't really play video games and never really have, what is Nintendo 64?
Mario 64.
Oh, it's Mario.
Yeah,
okay.
Mario.
I wasn't sure if it was like Donkey Kong or...
Mario 64. I don't actually know. I usually don't stay. I'm like, oh, guys, have fun. That's cute. Okay, you're like defeating Bowser and getting secret stars. I don't know. I'm old school. Give me a regular Nintendo with Mario, and it's like, yeah.
Okay.
Hit the question mark, get a coin, mushroom.
So are the graphics like a lot better with Nintendo 64?
I don't know. It's like this maze thing, and you have to like figure out what to do. He did have to look at the cheats for one of the
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. He's like, I can't believe it, but I have to look. But it's like, I don't know. You have to like get coins, and there's like, it's not like regular like old school Mario, and mostly because it's on Nintendo 64, so that's why I said that. But it's Mario, but it's on Nintendo.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is the point still to rescue Princess Peach?
I think so. You have to defeat Bowser. I don't know, but there's these different lands. You go in these doors, and there's like, I don't know. They say all this stuff, and they're like, "Mommy, you should stay and watch." And I'm like, "No, I think I'll go watch Hallmark upstairs and make you food instead."
That's great.
That sounds way better. No, it's actually super cute. Like, I'm more like, if we're gonna play video games together, it's like, Just Dance, bring it. Like,
I'm gonna win.
Yeah, after seeing you dance in the talent show last year, I bet you would destroy.
You know, like, Viva Las Vegas, that's my jam. 5 stars.
Wow.
The kids are like, I don't even want to do this one with you, Mommy. And I was like, hey, this is my favorite one. Just...
If you love me,
indulge me.
Yeah, no, they don't let me.
Well, like, let me beat you, basically. Well,
I don't want them to let me. I'll get it on. Well, I don't even want to compete. I just love it that much.
Yeah. I've always grown up in a competitive household, so there was, as the youngest of 4 older brothers, there was no going easy.
Yeah, babies up top.
There we go.
I'm the oldest, sorry.
Oh, nah.
It's okay.
You paved the way for us. Thank you.
Oh, man. That, like, maybe where we fall in the birth order is almost a whole nother podcast. I feel like there's so many things you could talk about that.
So much.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Don't tempt me.
We're gonna have a part 2.
We really definitely will. We say that with everybody, but yeah, we absolutely need to. This has been a blast. Maybe really quickly, I know it is already a little bit later than most of our podcasts go.
I haven't watched the clock. Yeah.
Okay. We always like to end the podcast by asking like what your devotional life looks like, what your prayer life looks like, what have you found that works for you, and maybe just share that with the people tuning in.
Sure. I will say that is not like the highlight of what I do. I'm not so good at but for me, I'm more of I like to listen. So I will listen to the Christian radio station on the way to and from work, and that is kind of become part of my devotional life is that. Whether they're like, if I can catch some of my favorite speakers, I love that. Like, Alistair Beggs, because he's got this really cool accent, so it's really easy to listen to him. But he's also like, I think, a really good pastor. You know, so there's different programming that I like to listen to. So like that's kind of one of the things that I enjoy is like being lifted up by able to listen as I'm driving. So that's kind of been a big thing. I think I told you in like those years that I was in Florida, like being in the Bible Belt, like prayer is awesome. And I don't think that I don't have like a set time, but like I feel like there's these conversations that are always going on. Right. I really cool. Like to have like like if someone needs a prayer, I want to put it on a list so that I can be intentional about it. We had a family member on my husband's side, whose wife was really sick. She's been undergoing chemotherapy, I think, and it hasn't been going well. So she was on a ventilator, and I was like, Shirley asked me, my mother-in-law, like, please pray for her. So I was praying for her like throughout the day. I wish I would have known her name, because I like to pray for people like I was specific, but like I didn't know her name, but then found out that she had passed away the next day. And I was just it was so sad. But her mother-in-law, which would be like the cousin or the cousin's wife to my husband, wrote just the most lovely post about it, because this young woman was like a very devout Christian and she had her solid faith. And it's like, you know, it's so cool when, even though you've been praying about this and you hope that the outcome is healing, right? But when you've been able to pray about something and you know your prayer was answered, just not in the way you were thinking, but like the Lord called her home, but with her faith intact. So like, what a blessing, you know? So prayer is so important and I love it. And like, I try to, like, when even in the midst of like some craziness at home, I'll be like, kids, we're going to pray about it right now.
Hey,
you know,
awesome.
And like sometimes like on the way to school when I'm like, I may seem nice and calm, but I can get razzled. Those kids, I love them, but they can razzle me really, really a lot. So I'll be like, all right, teeth clenched, driving on the way to school. August, I need you to pray for mommy right now. And then he'll pray out loud. It's not easy for Hazel. And like, I'm trying to help her. Like I said, Hazel, like, he's your father in heaven. He loves you. I want you to be able to talk to him. And it's really hard for her, but I just need to keep modeling and showing her. But I think it's so important to like, not just have like rote prayers, but like out loud prayers.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, that's not easy for everyone. I think part of it is growing up in the Bible Belt. People would pray, like, you don't just say, I'll pray for you. You're praying for them right now with them, you know, and I love that. And I wish that was more of our culture. So I have to, you know, at the end of women's study, like, any prayer requests, and it's like, I have to be careful because it'll be like a 10-minute prayer, and I'm like, sorry, ladies, but like, we had a lot to pray about, you know, so.
So that could be the most useful or beneficial 10 minutes of the entire devotion. Absolutely.
So like, it is interesting though, because there is like a comfort level for Seth that's a lot more personal for him. So he's not like an out loud prayer. So if we're going to pray as a couple out loud, then that's me praying, and I'm okay with that. So, you know, that's, I think, a little tricky though, is like your devotion life and your prayer life doesn't always coincide with your spouse's. So like, that can be tricky. So finding commonality of how you can be spiritually close is really important, because it might not be like, it's not just like, well, this is how I devotion, so let's do it this way. You might still need your individual time to do it your way, but then find a way that you can together as well. But so I would say like that's probably the main way that I would, either for both prayer and for devotion. I loved taking BHL, because then Seth and I treated that as like our couple devotion time, and then we would actually dig in and do the assignments together. I mean, I did the journaling. I did all of the homework myself, tutor bush and cheat. But I mean, like, but we definitely treated it as time that we would dig in together. So I kind of miss that because that was, it forced us to do that. It's so hard to balance time. You say rules, but really it's a time thing. It's like I get home and then people want to eat, and so I gotta make some food. And sometimes I actually put in a pork loin in the crock pot today. So we got a voters meeting.
It's gonna be
tonight,
delicious.
So, yeah, right, exactly.
Good for you.
So but and then by the time then you clean everything up, and it's like I literally sometimes am in the kitchen for 2 hours from the time I get home, and then it's like, okay, kids, wow, go take your showers, time for bed, and then you do that whole thing, and then it's like by that time it's like 9 o'clock. Sometimes I have to do class stuff, and then I'd like to spend a little time with Seth. So, so working out and intentional time with like my own devotion life, it's a hard
really
balance.
Hard.
Yeah. But so time constraint is my biggest nemesis. Thinking of bringing a yoga mat and doing my wall Pilates in my office.
There you go.
I know.
Just have a meeting while you're.
And then
while
you
you're
know
doing
what?
it.
I should just have some Christian music playing while I'm doing it, and then it's like, hey.
Yeah.
Not the same as a devotion, I know, but you know.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest parts about this podcast is just hearing everybody's what works for everybody.
Yeah.
It's just different every single time we ask the question.
And it's important for people that are listening. Like, students know you, but maybe they don't know that about you, and so now they get a little bit more about you, and it makes them more comfortable with their own devotional life, and maybe they're struggling in it too. So,
Yeah. It is like for my own personal devotional life, I'll literally listen to Christian music while I'm like working out, lifting weights, and then I'll just be praying, like just in between sets, during sets, and it's like that honestly is what works for me. Like it just that's where my mind is most like ready, I guess, most set for it. So
I have to say, Cody, that I still remember some of the things in your scholarship thank you letter that I've always been impressed, and I knew that this was the calling for you based on some of that. So I just want you to know that, because you maybe don't get that feedback, but like I'm really, really happy to see you on this path, and it's going to be awesome.
I really appreciate that.
And now knowing you, Logan, I feel the same, but I didn't get to read about your journey, you know, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I said now. Oh, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
thank you.
That's
This has been a really fun podcast.
Good. Yeah. Now, hopefully, people will enjoy listening.
I think they will.
Yeah.
You're a fun person to listen to.
This will be
maybe not as much.
definitely revisited, hopefully, sometime next year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows, if we're both in Minnesota this summer, maybe we can revisit it a little sooner.
Hey,
so
perfect.
yeah, this is a blast. We loved it. Yeah, with that being said, unless either one of you guys have anything, I think we can close it out.
I mean, I could say a lot of things, but
that's true.
We'll keep it for next time.
All right, sounds good.
You open the podcast. You want to close the podcast, Logan?
Sure. I mean, I can't remember exactly how you do it, but
Goodbye,
I think
guys.
I just think you just say thanks, guys, for listening, and hope you have a great week. All right, bye.